side of Flat Island. We saw lots of yachts over there, but I counted 16 masts, and I might have missed a few. Oh, he's tacked again. I thought he was going around the bank of Flat Island, but also no. Tacked, yeah. Pinch too much. There's the beautiful island of Mauritius. I think this is called Gunner's Coin. Mauritius behind.
Yep, all in order.
Good, good, that's what we like. So at this time we were happily sailing down the west coast of Mauritius in lovely weather, nice winds, seeing lots of yachts and people enjoying themselves on the water, thinking that what would happen is we would be allowed into this port where we are now, go across to customs, which is just around the corner, sign in, take a PCR test, come to the marina where we assumed they would have a quarantine dock. This is the full extent of the marina. No quarantine dock. And then we would just await the results of our PCR test. As I say, it didn't happen that way at all. They told us to go to the quarantine anchorage, which is actually out in the bay and completely exposed and unprotected really. And anchor. When we tried to anchor, Sandra was operating the windlass as always. It didn't budge, not an inch. So they told us to go and tie up to one of the large buoys that are out there. There's two large buoys, and we went across there. But in 20 knots of wind and a metre sea or something like that, it just wasn't possible. It just wasn't possible for us to tie up to this buoy without either smashing the yacht to bits or killing Sandra on the bow. And I couldn't think of a way around this. And Sandra said, ask them for help. I said, what? So she picked up the radio and called them and said, we can't do this on our own, send help. And God bless her, they did. They sent out a Coast Guard cutter. But the Coast Guard cutter came and tied us up using our lines. But the problem with that was that they tied it in such a way that we would not be able to untie it on our own. Also, we had to drive right up the side of them after they'd got the lines attached to get the lines attached to us, and that caused a lot of damage and so on to the side of the boat. But anyway, we ended up attached to the big yellow buoy. This is how it's finished up. We're on a buoy, and I don't think this one's going to drag or break. And it keeps sailing, which initially seemed okay. But there was a bit of a problem because we still had about a third of the Genoa out, and the problem with that was that we would start sailing and we would sail sort of away from the buoy, and the lines would tighten and then start dragging us towards the buoy, and just when it seemed that we would hit it, the sail would stall and we would start to drift back in the wind, and we would just miss it. And then the sail was set on the other side, we'd sail away from the buoy until the line tightened on that side, and then it would drag us towards the buoy, sails would stall, the sail would stall, and then we would drift backwards on the buoy. So, there's the problem. Then the next thing was, after we got tied up, they told us that we had to have an agent. And of course, we didn't have any contact details. They gave us a phone number and told us to phone this guy. We phoned him and asked him what the deal was, how much it would cost, and he said, well, nothing's going to happen until Monday because it's too late on Saturday. Tomorrow is Sunday, nobody does anything on Sunday, and especially not in government circles. So we'll have to wait until Monday for a PCR test, and then hopefully we will be released on Tuesday. How much is all this going to cost? $865 US dollars. Not an insignificant amount, and something of a shock.
Yes, and obviously coming from Thailand, we couldn't turn back because we've heard of many people coming from Reunion. When they hear these exorbitant prices, they just turn back and they go back to Reunion. So we had no alternative but to be imprisoned for 3 days on these high seas. It was awful, but thanks God it went as fast as it could. And Monday the doctor came by boat and then took the PCR test, and by Tuesday midday we were allowed to go to immigration, get ourselves registered, customs, immigration, do all the paperwork. And then we were at the marina by Tuesday afternoon, which was such a relief because being out there in the middle of the sea, just surrounded by huge cargoes in the distance, was just not a very pleasant sleep for either of us. Anyway.
No, and the other thing was, it was really sort of depressing, having made it all this way after 25 days and 3,200 miles or so, and then we were stuck 5 miles, we're probably about 5 miles from where we are now, but we're half a mile off the coast, and stuck there and unable to move. When we were released, we couldn't get off the buoy on our own either. So again, Sandra just called them up and said, send the Coast Guard to get us off of this. So they did. We sent the Coast Guard again. They just took a knife to our lines and cut them. Also, although our agent was very expensive, he's actually been very useful. He put us in touch. He asked if we needed what we were planning to do, and I said, well, we needed some repairs. And he put us in touch with a company that's just over across there. You'd have seen their yard when I swung the camera around a minute ago, called Taylor Smith. But they came so swiftly that I've renamed Taylor Swift. And they came,
very sorry to interrupt, to be recommended.
Yeah.
And they say they're coming after 9. You can expect them anytime during the day.
Yes, not before 9.
Not before 9. After 9 is any time before 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
But in saying that, the guys were very efficient, very committed and attentive to our challenges. And
they came and they fixed the windlass. which, as I suspected, was an electrical problem, and I could have, I'm sure, fixed it myself. But they've done a much more professional job, which I think will have a much more lasting, will be a much more lasting repair. They researched or sniffed it out and worked it out, and then the next question was the generator. The generator wouldn't start, and I was pretty sure it was because the generator battery was flat. The battery has got an indicator on the top, something I've never seen before, that tells you whether it's flat or not, and it said it was flat. So I was pretty sure that was the problem. But of course the problem was we had been running the generator on and off to charge the batteries and to make water and things like that on the trip. And the question then was, why wasn't the generator charging its own battery? And it also occurs to me that I've got a system fitted that I had fitted in Thailand to make sure that the engine batteries don't run flat, that they are charged from the house batteries in the system, and we should have done the same for the generator battery. But anyway, they again did their Sherlock Holmes bit, worked out why it wasn't charging, and made it charge. And of course they took the battery away and charged it up as well. And the third thing was the autopilot. I knew what the problem was with the autopilot, which was that this cog that the chain was jumping on needed to be adjusted a bit like the back wheel of a bicycle. The problem was that there wasn't enough adjustment. I did adjust it, and it was better, I felt, but I didn't feel it was fixed well enough. So I said to them, what I think we need to do is take a link out of this chain and then retension it with the link missing. And of course they didn't have the right tool with them, but they went away and they got the tool and they came back the next day and they fixed the autopilot as well. And we have had a couple of trial sales now, and it's been as good as gold.
Touch wood, oh please, yeah, touch wood. Yeah. Touch wood.
Then we also had all this leaking water that we found in the forepeaks of the both cabins, port and starboard. And they sent a man down, and he has sikaflexed everything, and hopefully that will keep the water at bay for the moment. And then there was one. What else did we do? The furler. We were Taylor Swift's man who does furlers called COVID, so he couldn't come obviously, and they sent another chap called Lindsay, who you will see quite a bit of. That was put us in touch with Julian. Yes, that's correct. Who had actually come by. For some reason, the GoPro just stopped recording there in the middle of our conversation. So I'll just redo it here. Yes, what happened was there was a yacht up in front of us called Infinity, which, as I said, had come from Abu Dhabi via the Maldives, and they had some sail work done by this chap Julian, who came past at their suggestion to ask if we needed any work done, and we said we did. So he took away the Genoa with him. And when Taylor Swift said that their man Gary had caught COVID and couldn't come, they said, speak to Julian, he does rigging as well. So I called Julian again and said, can you help with rigging? And they sent a man called Lindsay, who was remarkable, and you'll see a bit more of him in the rest of the video. He came and assessed the situation and came the next day, I think it was, or the day after, and took away the furler, the top piece and the bottom piece, without taking off the foil itself, and then he just reattached the forestay to the crossbeam, and he remanufactured the top piece of the furler, and because you can't get spares here, apparently they just cannot get spares. So he remanufactured it and came back and fitted it a couple of days later, and tensioned the rigging and so on. Then while he was doing this, he determined that the problem came about because the sail had stretched a bit, either because it was old and baggy and stretched, or partly possibly because when Rolly Taskers had done the work on it in Thailand, they had maybe lengthened it ever so slightly. So what happened was that the sail had stretched and the top piece of the furler had come off the foil and then got itself destroyed. So when Lindsay realised this, he called Julian and said, look, you need to make the sail a bit shorter. So he has shortened the sail by 15 centimetres to ensure that it won't come off the top of the furler, the foil this time. So I have to say, everyone seems to be very well connected here. When we were going to Grand Bay, our agent said, oh, you're going to Grand Bay, speak to Philip Besson, he's a great guy up there, and so on. So we did. We spoke to him. He organised parking there, in the bay, parking there. And he also sent a guy over to help because we have what seemed to be a leaking water tank, and he did a little bit of work on the water tank and checked the system out, and didn't charge us for it either. So all in all, people have been really helpful and very well connected. And despite everyone saying that Mauritius is expensive, actually I found the work quite reasonable.
Correct.
Anything to add, honey?
Reliable, reasonable, very helpful, and
very friendly.
They all say that please call us at any time because we want to ensure that everything is fine. So that's a good way of, clinching the deal and ensuring that the client is super happy. So
good morning, everybody. It's Friday the 3rd, I think, of November, and we have now departed Cowdown Marina in Port Louis, and we're heading off towards Grand Bay. We're just in the port channel just now. Got a lot of big traffic in here, nothing moving around though, that's good. And it's a beautiful day. Commodore is attending to the defenders, having done a fantastic job of getting us off the dock. We were fortunate in that the wind was blowing us off, so we more or less just drifted off. It worked out very well indeed. We had a plan in place. We briefed which lines we were going to take off, how we were going to take them off, and it worked out well. And great big vehicle carrier, depositing vehicles. Well, that'll be a year's supply. Maybe it's Christmas presents arriving early. Anyway, we'll join you again later in the day as we hopefully sail up to Grand Bay, and then as we park up in Grand Bay also. Over and out for now from Not So Bad. Industrial. It's the main port, the main entry, and all the winds coming in and out there pretty much, I think. And a lot of the power generation stuff is done there, so all the smoky stuff. So all in all, I'm pretty glad to escape it. We're hoping that Grand Bay is going to be a much better place to stop. We got a bit of a warning about it there just before we left, so be careful with the rope there. So it's a little bit worrying, but anyway, there is Neil Police. Well, we've gone about, we're heading back in towards the land. We were heading out, we felt that we were heading a bit too far away from Grand Bay, which is up here somewhere, just round the corner. So we're heading inland, in towards the land a little bit. And it's amazing, this is a much more comfortable tack to be on. The other one we were sort of ploughing into the waves, this one we're not really. And we're the same, we're still on wind vane mode, 55 off the wind, which we were on the other side as well. We're still doing 7.5 knots or so, and It's just the way the waves meet the yacht. It's amazing. Just going about made it a much more comfortable ride. But we'll have to make another 2 times at least to make it into Grand Bay. But all is looking good.
Good afternoon, guys, from Grand Bay. As we're approaching Grand Bay now, a beautiful beach ahead of us, and we're heading in there, going into Anchor today. It looks really nice, looks interesting. Lots of luxury hotels here, lovely restaurants. As you can see, there's quite a lot of boats here as well. So we'll be anchoring. Captain John at the helm there as usual. Oh, not so bad. Yeah. So beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Looks quite big, that's probably right. Which means grand, means large in French. Got a little pink lady coming in beside us here. Royal Cruise must be a boat, day boat. Also heading in the same direction with us. And yeah, some beautiful boats here. Beautiful landscape, beautiful water, the water's beautiful. So quite excited for our new adventure in Mauritius.
Tied up the dinghy down there. Not so bad, it's out in the middle there somewhere. Can't see it. Must have been stolen already. Another beautiful flame tree.
And on the flame!
And
This is the
here.
flame!
Sandra's not so bad out there in the background. Stopped in a nice little... called the Beach House. We might just have a bit of lunch. We've come for a dinner at a nice restaurant that's right on the beach. It's okay, Sandra can walk in water, so it'll be fine. She can carry me. This is what I call not so bad. Not so bad. we left Abu Dhabi, we very gratefully got a present from a friend of Sandra's who gave us this excellent cooker. But I have to say we haven't actually used it. We didn't need to use it because we had gas. Now that we're here in Mauritius, the one of the gas bottles is empty, and we're told that it cannot be refilled here. So we either have to buy another gas bottle of some different description, or we have to use electric, which is our first attempt at doing this. Good morning, everybody. This is Lindsay, master of everything, including cooking.
They told me, Lindsay, why your food have good taste? I said, because me, I cook with my heart.
With your heart. That's true.
I cook with my heart. I'm not forced to cook.
Love cooking.
Yeah.
Yes, I always feel sorry for people who don't like eating. So here we are, having our last lunch out, might even have our last dinner out later. Sandra's having a bit of a radler with some chicken wings. I'm having a beer with some very nice little yellowfin tuna. Nice little lunch snack.
Yes.
Cowden waterfront that was closed pretty much when we arrived, but now it's starting to open. Still serious signs of the smoke damage from the fire that causes closure, but they're trying to open, which is nice.